Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. Singapore Grand Prix review time. And as promised yesterday, we are once again in the same place.
Told you we follow through on these promises.
We always follow through.
Oh.
What? It's just not true.
Fair.
On this occasion, though, we actually have.
Three-way follow through.
Yeah, sure. We're all okay after last night, aren't we?
Yeah.
Everyone's well. Our producer is asleep.
Kirsty's asleep. We've had a right ruckus this morning, haven't we?
Went to the F1 arcade in Birmingham last night and had a great grand old time.
I actually thought it was very good.
Recommend.
Yeah, would recommend if you're in London or Birmingham, go to one of them. It's good fun.
Didn't get recognised though, did we?
We're not that famous, so.
Big disappointment, that.
A little bit disappointed.
People were just too shy to come up to us.
Thought I saw murmurs.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the Singapore Grand Prix, unsurprisingly, today. We've got
going to try to.
Well, we'll give it a good go. We've got a moment of the race coming up later on, a little bit on the midfield battle. Hülkenberg and Alonso both scoring points in that. Sergio Perez also scoring point singular, so we'll be discussing that a little bit later on as well. Ferrari versus Mercedes, an interesting battle of strategy there, but we're going to start out front because Lando Norris led from the first lap, which in itself is a talking point. He had a very good start, no problems there whatsoever, and then decided to, what's the way I can say it that the FIA won't be mad at me? He went off.
Ran away.
How impressed were you, Sam?
There were moments where I was very impressed. This was a really good Grand Prix from Lando Norris, and equally there were some moments in there where I was absolutely terrified that he was about to put it into the wall for almost no reason whatsoever, led entirely by himself. His start was good, and it's about time that he got a good start. He finally got away in the lead, led the first lap. I think Max Verstappen had a poor start. Lewis Hamilton got right up alongside him going through turn one, and that obviously massively helps the leader when they get away that cleanly. They got going next to him, so that helped him. And then it seemed like he was so relaxed for a lot of the Grand Prix. When his engineer came on the radio and said, what's the pace like? What are you doing at the moment? Lando goes, I'm about a 6 at the moment. And we all kind of went, is it actually a 6?
What do you think the limit is to those numbers? Is it 6 out of 10?
6 out of 14?
It's actually 7. He was going really quickly.
But what was scary was when they went, okay, cool, well, by the mid-teen laps, we want to have a plus 5 second gap to Max Verstappen. And
you knew at that point, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right.
I went, within 2 laps, it was over 5 seconds.
It was lap 12, wasn't it? So it hadn't even got to mid-teens.
I was like, oh.
It was just on demand, wasn't it?
Yeah, immediately, the pace ramped up.
Go faster now. Okay,
I will. And it was so effortless for him. The car and him were really at one. And yet, at the same time, which we'll get onto, there were some mistakes that really made me panic a little bit for someone who was so comfortably out front.
In the end, the win margin ended up being slightly less than what we saw at Zandvoort, but still just over 20 seconds. At one point, it was 28. I think we said throughout this Grand Prix, if he needed it or wanted it to be 40, 45.
I think it could have been close to a minute.
Yeah, he seems so comfortable, which I guess similar to Zandvoort, other than the fact that he needed to make the overtake at Zandvoort, but really after that, it was very very dominant.
Correct. End of podcast. Very dominant. It was. I'm not saying it's easy for him out there because it wasn't, but he could just, as you said, it was on demand, the pace he had, and he was just sort of, it was not even managing the gap because he was still extending it, but he built that buffer up and then he could, like you say, could have gone even faster, but didn't need to. Had those few scares with the walls, but yeah, it was quite a scary performance in terms of how dominant it was from Norris. We're not used to seeing that from. I mean, we've had a lot with Verstappen, but from McLaren this year, I know Zandvoort isn't a good example, but apart from that, it's been tight. It's been a good battle for the lead, but this was convincing.
Yeah, and of course, only one fastest lap from Daniel Ricciardo away from a first career Grand Slam. But even so, a very dominant performance. I, like you, Sam, as soon as they said, right, we want to get this gap to 5 seconds, we want to do it by then, and then he just did it. You kind of knew at that point that he had this wrapped up, unless he was going to do something actively to hurt his chances. as good as Verstappen was on the day, and we'll get to him in a moment, as good as some of the other drivers were as well, it was really impressive what he was able to do with that gap. Because at Singapore as well, sometimes I understand the point of you do want to protect against the undercut by getting that 5 seconds, but often you're in such management mode at this circuit with the high temperatures and the quite soft tyres at street circuit, that as soon as you get to like 5 seconds, you could just, all right, we'll manage it. We'll keep it around this point. And the fact that Lando Norris didn't need to do that, and he just went above and beyond that and just extended to the point where he didn't have to worry about anything anyone else did. Like, he could just pit whenever he wanted to pit. He obviously had a scare with the front wing. If it was anything worse than what had happened, they could have just stopped him and fixed the front wing, and he still would have won this race, I think. Like, he just created such a buffer for himself. So we have had questions about Lando Norris and his ability to convert on quite obvious pace that he's got. This was a major tick because quali, nailed it, 2 tenths gap. Race, we do have some question marks about him pushing at times, but the margin of victory is so dominant, and it really leaves him in a good position for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I think whenever he does something wrong, he then rectifies that, but then he does something else wrong, right? And that's what worries me about Lando Norris. Are you a champion? Yeah. Are you a true champion in the sense of every time, there's always a weakness to his game. And I would be, if I was Max Verstappen, if I was any other competitor, I would look to exploit that weakness. It would be you're not consistent enough. Under pressure, he does seem to have his problems. You know, he hit the wall 3 times in this Grand Prix. One of them almost saw his, if that was a slightly different angle, that could have been the front wheel off the car. It really could have been game over. And for what reason? What were you doing to gain that advantage? At that point, he was over 20 seconds clear. Why are you risking that? Why are you driving in a manner that seems so precarious? And then he was also lapping Colapinto, of course. Nearly runs the car wide out into the wall. What are you doing that for? Why are you risking it? Hits the back wheel on the wall where Russell DNF'd last year again. I think he did that last year when Russell was chasing him actually as well, didn't he? That's exactly the same place that he's hit the wall 2 years in a row
Very
now.
good point, yeah.
And got away with it 2 years in a row. But these are risks you just do not need to be willing to take. And that is why I still have question marks over Lando Norris and his ability right now. The raw pace is obviously there. The kid is so quick. And he's a real talent. Can he do it every single race if the car required it, if he needed to win that title fight, if it came down to the wire on the last Grand Prix? Do I think he's the guy to do that right now? I still think there's some questions there.
Did you read anything into Verstappen's response to seeing that crash for the first time? So they're in the cool-down room. Verstappen, based on his reaction, I don't think has any idea that Norris has, and we're talking about the first one of the 3 here, as you say, goes into the wall, and Verstappen's reaction is shock, like, you did that, son?
Like, how did you get away with that?
Yeah.
I think it will not shock them that this is how dominant they are, but the fact that he can essentially crash into the wall, stop the car, turn the car, carry on going, and the gap was still 21 seconds after
he lost
that.
like 4 seconds, didn't he?
Yeah, but the fact that the gap is that big, that 4 seconds is, who cares? I still can't see you. You're still up the road. That's scary for Red Bull, that the gap is that big in the performance margin. But also, Max will look at that and go, God's sake. Any other time, if you're putting that in the wall, that's championship over. I win the race. Norris doesn't get any points. That's it sewn out. It's not getting brought back from what it would be then, 78 points, I think it was, if we got a 25-point swing the other way.
Yeah, 77, I think.
Something like that, yeah. So it would be, that would be championship game over. Not technically, but I don't think Norris could bring back a 77-point gap with only 6 races to go. Whereas now, I still think it's a real tough ask, but it's definitely possible.
Did you have any concerns about some of those near misses?
Yeah, don't do that, Lando.
It's a great point.
It's great feedback from you.
If you want to be champ, don't crash into the wall. In the book.
Yeah,
it's a little. There were a couple of lapses of concentration from Lando, and he said afterwards it wasn't like he was pushing too much, but even so, they were lapses of concentration, which is a common one for this circuit, given the heat and the fact that the race goes on for 48 hours. Yeah, I would. The fact that he didn't actually bin it is obviously good, but he those sort of mistakes you do need to iron out, because it's the consistency of a Verstappen or a Hamilton or an Alonso that's made them world champions. And Norris has some inconsistencies, as you said, Sam. His pace is electric, but he just needs a bit more, consistency and less mistakes. And these were tiny, marginal mistakes, so they didn't matter in the end. But he's fortunate that the car he had allowed him to make these mistakes, and A, that it's a strong car, and B, that it was quick enough that he could then re-extend the gap when he did make them. So, a lucky boy. He can't do that again.
I was concerned. It was completely unnecessary. And I'm sure people will, come at me for a day in which Lando Norris has had such a dominant victory that we're being negative about like a couple of things about his performance. But when you boil it down to what was there to gain versus what there was to lose, in all three instances, why? I appreciate the first one is more of a mistake. It's less of a decision, but certainly his decision to go as close to the wall as he did on the second one with, like you said, where Russell hit last year, he didn't need to risk that. The Colapinto one is probably the most needless one. Like, you are going to get past him. You are lapping the car. You don't need to do it where you tried to do it. And, if all things go well and you can execute all three of those, like, what do you gain? A tenth of a second or that you don't need. And if it goes horribly wrong, as you say, Verstappen can win that race, Norris can DNF, and that might well be the nail in the coffin, championship over. So when you look at the pros and the cons side, like it's a complete mismatch. So I was concerned about his, as phenomenal as his pace was, his race management, I thought was in a few of those instances questionable,
risky, unnecessarily risky, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've got no problem with risks. It's when
what's the reward for that risk?
To do the risk.
If he's chasing down Verstappen for the race win, okay. But he wasn't. He wasn't 2 seconds clear of Verstappen either.
There was no chasing happening.
He was in Malaysia, and Verstappen wasn't on this earth.
Yeah, he's already driving down the road to Kota at this point. That's how far ahead he was.
The other two drivers on the podium, so Max Verstappen started second, finished second. Oscar Piastri had a bit more work to do, went very long on that first stint, but eventually got by the Mercedes drivers, and he finished in third. Start with Verstappen, Sam. Given, again, how dominant Norris was, he's only lost 7 points in the championship. Good result.
Perfect day out, genuinely. If Norris is going to go and win a race in that much of a dominant fashion, for him to not get the fastest lap, thank you, Daniel Ricciardo, I'm sure, as we heard Max say over the radio, for him to only gain 7 points, which, again, if that happens every single race for the rest of the season, isn't enough to win the title. This is the best it can be from Max Verstappen, and I think he drove really well. I think he had a really good race. It was solid. The pace was very consistent. We heard, because there wasn't a lot happening, they were really diving into the nothingness of the Grand Prix, so the lap times were getting read out an awful lot. But Verstappen was ever so consistent. It was kind of 0.2 either side of the same lap constantly. He was keeping Piastri at bay the entire time once Piastri did get into third. The gap barely came down from 18 seconds for the majority of that second stint. He was comfortably in front of the Mercedes after the start. His only negative, I think, was getting off the line, and it didn't cost him in the end. So, again, it was a champion's drive. That was an impressive drive. That was someone that is going, I will, much what like Prost used to say, I will wing, without winging, in the slowest way possible. I will gain everything I can with the least risk, the least worry, no problems on my side. He didn't really moan over the radio at all either. It was just head down, second place. It's the best it's going to be today. Picked up the most points I think he get. I don't think he ever won that Grand Prix with Lando Norris not having a problem.
What do you think, Harry? Because we were looking at Red Bull on Friday, and it wasn't looking very good. And here we are on Sunday, second place for Verstappen.
It looked poopy on Friday, didn't it?
That's a very technical term, but I don't disagree.
Very poopy. Thank you, Sam.
Is that the Red Bull from Friday?
That was. That's what the engine sounded like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said this to you afterwards. Every time Lando finishes the race ahead of Verstappen, it's like, oh, this is great. And then he looks around and, oh, Verstappen's right next to me.
Oh, hello there.
Oh, hello there.
Max here.
So, yeah, for Verstappen, this is very good damage limitation. I don't think that Red Bull deserved to be on the podium.
I think it deserved to be fifth.
Yeah. I think, and obviously he was fortunate with the fact that Ferrari in qualifying yesterday. Piastri wasn't on scintillating form, and they had the measure of the Mercedes, but it wasn't the second fastest car today, and I think Verstappen made the difference on that one. Like you said, Sam, just accepted. I think obviously, given where they were on Friday, this is probably actually a good result for them. But accepted the fact that it wasn't going to be a win and just went for P2, and it paid off. So it's again minimal 7.7 points he's lost, which is in the grand scheme. We're chipping away at the races here. We're going to run out of Lando's going to run out of time to try and catch him. So a good day for Verstappen.
And according to Sean Kelly, F1 Statman,
friend of the podcast,
of course, does now mean Verstappen does not need to win another race.
Will he win another race?
Well,
it's a bizarre thing to say.
He doesn't need to. He can finish second the rest of the way now.
So even with sprint races,
I believe so.
Wow, God! I mean, that is the luxury, isn't it, of getting the job done early. He smashed it at the start of the season, dominating the first 6-7 races, and it's basically held him up from there because it's not been good basically since before Spain.
That was his last win.
There you go. So Spain was the last time it really went properly well for that team. That's a long time ago now. Yeah. That's a long time ago. It's 10 Grand Prix ago?
In the Verstappen era of the last few years, it's a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I thought he was great today, Verstappen, because I think it probably was the third fastest car out there.
I think if Leclerc starts, if Piastri and Leclerc start right behind Max, I think they get past him.
Yeah. And Norris was phenomenal, and his margin back to Verstappen and everyone else was ridiculous. The gap from Verstappen back to everyone else was ridiculous. Piastri was nowhere near him, and neither were the Ferraris, neither were the Mercs. So, I think Verstappen should be very happy with how that's gone. Again, and Norris was so good, and he's lost 7. He'll take that, I think.
I said this yesterday. They're giving me real Hamilton, Verstappen 2021 vibes, these two, at the moment. They're just so far ahead. At least they were this weekend. So far ahead of everyone else. Like, it was...
Yeah, different class. So we said this almost last year when, how many times did we compliment Lando Norris because he'd be driving a race where you think, if you don't look at the timing board, you see the orange car go by and all the other cars go by, but what you've actually missed is Verstappen is 20 seconds up the road again. It's the opposite way round at this point, right? Yeah. The amount of times that we said, wow, if the Red Bulls weren't in this, Norris would absolutely dominate this. Well, if Norris wasn't in this race, Verstappen is absolutely dominated in a car that shouldn't dominate this Grand Prix. I said it when we were watching how in Baku, the front three separated by a second. The duality of F1 here. You come to Singapore, the front three are separated by 45 seconds at one point. It's, baffling the way that it can flip like that within the space of a week.
Yeah, I do wonder. I don't think this would be an easy stat to get, but it'd be interesting. Like the last time, the margins of like the top 3 were so different from one race to the next. Pretty mad. Quick shout on Piastri as well. Happy with the result. Obviously, it's another podium, but he was a long way from his teammate. So. How does he see it? I
think he'd be happy. Damage limitation somewhat after quali yesterday because I think he was out of position. The thing is, like, when you are, like with Leclerc and Piastri, they're out of position. They clearly had the pace, but because they've got to, like, use the strategy, they can't just overtake and get past the cars they need to. They've got to use the strategy to do it. By the time that's all played out, their actual battle that they probably should be involved in are so far up the road that it's a done deal. So it does make it. I think it does make it look worse for Piastri in terms of the gap. So yeah, I think he could be fairly happy with how the day went.
Yeah, I think this is one he lost. Lost is harsh because he's finished on the podium, but I think the reason he's not second is yesterday and not today, because so much of his strategy is focused on how could he get ahead of George Russell, how could he beat the Ferraris and the Mercs, at which point you settle for third and Verstappen's not really in the picture. If Piastri even starts third and not second, then suddenly all of his strategy goes into how can I beat Verstappen, in which case I think he might give him a run for his money. But I think there'll be a little bit of disappointment in that when you have a teammate that is so dominant, you do want to at least be second place. But again, I think this was more lost yesterday than it was today.
I actually think it's the opposite of Lando Norris this race weekend, in the sense that Lando's raw pace was phenomenal, really incredible. But as we've already mentioned, the consistency, the risk, it was worrying at times. Whereas Piastri, I don't think had that raw pace around Singapore. It didn't click with him. He wasn't comfortable. He wasn't able to extract everything out of it that Lando was, when we have seen that he's able to previously. But what I was very impressed with was the clinical nature he makes overtakes. The way he's so calm over the radio getting stuff done. Once he does get into the clean air, it's the consistency again, lap after lap after lap, no risk, no worry. The way he just cruises up to someone like Lewis Hamilton and he's like, down the inside, see you later, moving on. I'm not going to sit behind you for 6-7 laps. I'm not going to faff around with it. I'm getting the job done. I'll see you later.
You shouldn't we shouldn't make these sorts of comparisons because they're two very different people, stages of their career. But Piastri really reminds me of Hamilton in the way he just overtakes people. His approach to just rocking up and getting it, sorry, the big bang there, and getting it done, just reminds me of Hamilton in his. I'm not saying Hamilton doesn't do it now, but it's less so because of the car situation. But just Hamilton in his early career, where he just rock up to get the overtake done and move on.
I don't think he'd see it as a fight. He'd see it as a "you're in my way, move to the side,
out of my way."
I'm going through now.
Yeah.
And Oscar does it really respectfully at the same time. He isn't shoving people off the racetrack. He's not overcrowding them or almost causing crashes. He got past both Mercedes in the same place, and at every moment they had full car on the track. Overtake was clinical, job done, and he swanned off into the sunset.
Okay, that's our summary of the top three. We're going to take a short break. On the other side, we're starting to look into the Ferraris and the Mercedes. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Ferrari versus Mercedes now, because we were looking at these two teams as one having a better day than expected in qualifying and one having a worse day than expected. We had the two Mercedes starting 3rd and 4th. We had the two Ferraris starting 9th and 10th. And they basically made their way back to one another. So Mercedes have got the better of Ferrari, but only just. George Russell finishing 4th, Charles Leclerc finishing 5th, Hamilton 6th, and then Carlos Sainz in 7th. Should we start on the Mercedes duo, Sam? So Lewis Hamilton, he starts 3rd, but on the soft tyre, the only driver in the top 10 to go that way. Doesn't really work out for him. George Russell goes longer and ultimately able to get by Hamilton quite comfortably. How did you see the way they played their strategy?
Hamilton's strategy is an absolute pile of poo, innit? Pick it up and put it in the bin. What are you doing starting on the soft tyre, Lewis? You moan about everything. You hate tyres. There's a vendetta against all things made of rubber that are round. And you gave him the things that run out incredibly quickly on a very heavy car.
They were used. They're not even brand new.
What's the point?
Yeah,
What are you?
a couple lap old tyres, yeah.
What are you doing with him? What a terrible decision. Then they bring him in so early, of course, which is a nightmare, because then he has to do 45 laps on hard tyres. And Lewis is already complaining 10 laps in, going, guys, you've screwed me here. What are we doing? What are we doing? At that point, Russell's overcut him. And Russell's pace, the car wasn't there. And I think actually Hamilton and Russell were basically kind of where the car should be, maybe slightly further ahead of it. But I was really impressed with Russell's pace. I was really impressed with how he just kind of got, once he did overcut Lewis, he was gone. There ended up being a whole pit stop between the two of them. I do think Russell had the better strategy. I do think Russell regularly had the better compact tyre at the right time. But I also think that Russell generally was just faster on race day today. And I think Mercedes will come away thinking, overall points, yeah, we beat Ferrari. We were never really going to outscore anyone else massively, match kind of the Red Bull guys as well. It's all right. I think in the details, they've still got problems. I don't think they understand a lot of this car. I think the heat causes them too many problems. The strategy still being this wild and bad is just ridiculous to me. So on the surface of it, fine. They'll come away with it, no issues. But they need to stop making these silly mistakes, because I think Hamilton probably could have had a closer battle with the likes of Leclerc today. If he was up there with Russell the entire time, maybe there could be a different scenario. They both finish in front of both Ferraris and there's a few more points gained there.
What do you make of the days of Hamilton and Russell?
Yeah, the Hamilton strategy is I understand they're trying to do something different, but it did seem like an odd...
It's the wrong different,
yeah, and because they know how hard it is to overtake a Singapore, so that strategy is automatically giving up track position really early doors, because he's going to have to come in early. So why are you doing that? I know what they're trying to do with it, but for where they are, it just didn't make sense. So odd one, and yeah, his day was kind of done from there. Russell, yeah, I thought Russell was pretty impressive. He was kind of, again, on his like Alonso was, also on his own for quite a lot of the race. That's why there's so many radio messages from him. Bored.
What a great day for Russell Radio.
He was the entertainment today.
We so back. But yeah, he was just sort of, chopping about on his own for most of the race. Had some battles with, Leclerc as he came through. But apart from that, he was on his own. But I thought his pace was pretty good. And like you said, Sam, I think he got the most out of the Merc. And to be honest, to be on the podium for as in P3 for a while, I think if he'd come away with the podium, that would have been very impressive. I know Piastri got him in the end, but Piastri should have been on the podium anyway. So I thought it was a good day for Russell.
Yeah, from Russell's perspective, he wasn't beating Piastri. Like that wasn't happening as much as they tried. So
He held him up really well the first stint.
he did, yeah, 100%. And I think they knew that regardless of whether they went earlier or later for Russell, Piastri would have the pace to either undercut or overcut, and there's not much you can do at that point. But the way in which I was quite impressed with how early Mercedes were on it in terms of the threat of Leclerc. Like they read that quite early on, which would have helped Russell to manage that last stint to the point where Leclerc caught up, but by that point didn't have the tyres left to actually make the overtake. So I think they played it quite well for George Russell. Lewis Hamilton, I disagree with the strategy, although I've got a slightly different reason why compared to you both, I think. So I was okay with him starting on the softs. I think it was, and it nearly went down this way. I think the only way in which a Mercedes potentially beats Verstappen in this Grand Prix is starting on the softs and getting Verstappen with those softer rubber right at the beginning of the race. Nearly happened. They were side by side. But I think that's their only chance of maybe getting P2. Because I don't think Verstappen would have, at least on track, overtaken Hamilton. Maybe strategically they get him, but I could understand why they did that for Hamilton and not for Russell, because Russell obviously started P4. It was more unlikely that he was going to get to P2 by the first corner. The issue from my side, and I think you mentioned this during the race, Sam, is that it didn't really seem like he was struggling that much when they brought him in.
I was really surprised that they brought him in so early. The gap to Russell at that point was about 2.5 seconds back. He was close to Russell. Actually, it opened up over kind of 10 laps or so before he pitted. And it didn't seem to be coming down. And I think he probably could have done maybe another 5 to 10 laps on those soft tyres and made his hard stint much more comfortable. I'm really surprised that they brought him so early. Straight into the traffic of the likes of Magnussen, Ocon, Tsunoda. These people who are driving cars that are real lumps. They're not quick. Are you getting stuck behind those guys at Singapore? Just chucking traffic in your way for no reason.
Yeah, so that was the bit I had more problem with, because I didn't think there was a reason for them to stop Hamilton at the time they did, and the power of the overcut became quite apparent for those that weren't stuck in traffic. If he was really holding on at that point and Russell's all over the back of him and he's got a queue of cars, then maybe my opinion's different here. But yeah, I think they should have gone, even though they started on the softs, I think they could have gone a little bit longer in that one. Ferrari, so they did not have a good qualifying session. We all had a good chuckle when we went through the no time on the grid lineup that comes up before the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc started 9th, Carlos Sainz started 10th. Perhaps even more so than Mercedes, they went radically different with their strategy. Even though they both started on the medium compound tyre, Carlos Sainz came in very early on and went to undercut a lot of drivers that he lost out to at the beginning. He didn't have a great start to this Grand Prix. He was down in 12th. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, goes longer on that first stint, and as a result is able to make some progress late on, including the overtakes of the likes of Lewis Hamilton to get back to 5th. Harry, how did you see the days of Leclerc and Sainz?
Good. Missed opportunities for both of them. I think, like I said, Leclerc had a belting race, but I think Sainz actually had a good race as well, because the fact that he did, was it like 45 laps or something?
Yeah, I think he might well have gone the longest on those.
I think he did, yeah.
On his second set of tyres, showed obviously the car could hold on to its tyres well, and he was obviously the end of the top 6. No, he's not, because Perez was 10th. But 1 minute,
yeah.
Apart from Perez, he was the end of that top, the top teams. But which is fair, because he had to hold on for that long. But he held off Alonso, which I think other cars might not have been able to do. And for Leclerc, yeah, his pace was, especially in the second half of the race, his pace was pretty good, and a very frustrating beginning, as he was saying, where he was just sat behind Alonso and Hülkenberg for like 30
he had
laps.
No choice.
He had to, yeah. He couldn't do anything else about it. And this is what I'm saying earlier on with Piastri. They just have to sit and wait. And by the time that happens, the actual, without a safety car intervening or anything, the battle that they probably should have been involved with is already up the road and gone. So, yeah, good days, good damage control, but they can't afford to do that if they want to try and also be in the constructors' fight, because McLaren have outscored them.
Yes, they have, and to be honest, they've basically matched Red Bull today as well. So they are They're 50 points behind Red Bull and then 91 behind McLaren, which is a big
Feels
old
like it's
margin
slipping
now.
away.
I feel like from Sainz's perspective, to start with him, as soon as, and I know there was a lot of damage done from qualifying, plus that start where he's down in 12th, I feel like at that point, the best you're going to get without some weird safety car is where he finished. Like, and pitting early and just managing that second stint. So it's almost, I think Sainz did a good job, but he probably didn't need to do the good job that he did. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think this was a really bad weekend for Sainz. I think every problem encountered was caused by Sainz. I think it's all his fault. I think the crash in qualifying, rookie. Really rookie. Poor crash. Then terrible start, caused by himself, drops down into more traffic, and he's now behind, the battle with Perez. He's fighting with the likes of Tsunoda. He's got to sit around cars that are so much slower than that Ferrari, where, despite him having a bad quali, there weren't too many slow cars in front of him. It was only Hulkenberg and Alonso, really, and we saw how hard that it was for Leclerc to get past those guys. So he could have just been calm, settled in, and I feel like I think they could have finished 4th and 5th here today. I really do think that on a good weekend, after that bad quali, they could have finished 4th and 5th. So I was disappointed with Sainz. His tyre management was great, but it was all self-inflicted. Leclerc, I thought, again, his own fault that the lap doesn't come together in qualifying, invalidates. He gets himself out of trouble. I think it's a good Grand Prix. I think it's a shame he can't get the move done on Russell. That would have really brought the comeback into place. Only one place away from the podium at that point if he does get it done. Good drive, good pace. Overtakes were solid. You could see he was getting so frustrated though. That moment where his race engineer comes on and goes, Norris P1, Russell P1. He's like, what? What are you telling me about that for? I'm bloody miles away.
He's a minute away from me.
Stop talking to me about that. It's irrelevant. You could see that he was frustrated, I think, this race. But it was a good recovery. The pace was solid. I just think it's a real missed opportunity this weekend of August for them.
It is, because from Leclerc's perspective, I think what he was able to unlock in that second stint, it was equal parts great and frustrating, because the pace was very good, and at the same time it was frustrating because you looked at that and thought, yeah, that's a car that could have finished second. Like, if he gets quali right, there is no reason I don't think he would have had the legs to beat Norris today, but he could have been on that podium for sure. So the fact that he has recovered it to P5, a good effort today, but it's probably 2 or 3 positions short of where it could have been.
Yeah, he's comfortably dropped a good 7 or 8 points there.
Shall we review some bold predictions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sam, you went...
Niche
is the correct word with your bold prediction, which was?
That Crofty will make some form of silly or poor joke related to the denim livery on the Minardi.
I'm shooketh.
They said everything under the sun that was terrible.
There were so many opportunities
Apart
to say
from
random stuff today.
Denim lines. None of them happened. No trousers being pulled down. No, rub of the material or something like that I was waiting for.
Zip.
Yeah, literally, I left the door so open for him. And they said, the comments today, Danny Minogue, Kylie Minogue, the cause being breathless. You got bloody...
That was a good one. I'm not mad at that from us.
Oh, that's great. Things going in and out so many times.
Ted.
Honestly, there were so many bad, weird commentary lines, but nothing about denim. As if. So, yeah, no points for me.
Speaking of points, that's quite relevant for your bold prediction, Harry, because it was...
Verstappen would finish outside the points with no, retirement.
I think he got 18.
Yes.
Good. A whisker away.
My turn.
What did you get, Ben?
I said that Ferrari would finish 1-2, and if you take Leclerc, who finished 5th, and Sainz, who finished 7th, and add those 2 numbers together, you get 12, which is a 1 and a 2.
Woo!
Come on!
No points looks good on you, Ben.
I thought that was going to work. Yeah, I was not very right. Also known as wrong. So, Abacus is out. No movement at all.
It's been a successful year so far.
Okay, we're doing well.
Important bold predictions next time we get to it, though, because it's Austin bold predictions, so...
In
front of a live show.
In front of a live show. I have to think about that in advance.
All right. Shall we also have a look at Driver of the Day?
Okay.
Oh, hang on. You've caught me unawares there, Ben.
Get yourself a little jingle while you're there. Pick yourself up a little jingle.
Sorry.
Just play yourself a little wee jingle there.
It's happening. There's a water bottle leaking.
You just play yourself a little wee jingle.
Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Yeah.
Do you want to tee that up again?
Should we do driver of the day?
That's a great idea.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at
What a
driving.
lovely wee jingle you got there.
If you got Sam.
Who have I got for driver of the day? Tricky batch, I think. I'm going to say that there are many options. Norris is a shout.
This is good stalling.
Yes.
Yes. You think of the answer?
Well, it's not. It's more the final answer, right? Norris is
many
a shout. I think Verstappen deserves a shout. I think Alonso and Hulkenberg deserve shouts as well. I thought they were both really, really good. I'm actually going to give it to Verstappen. No mistakes. Most he could get out of it. There was nothing else available for him today. Did everything right. No problems.
I'll keep mine brief because that's basically what I've got to say. My contenders were Norris, Verstappen, and Alonso, and I've given it to Verstappen. Boy, we're going to get some hate unless you give it to Norris.
Sorry, Lando fans.
I've given it to Fernando Alonso.
Oh no! Not one of us have given it to Lando Norris.
I agree with all your points, though. Norris is definitely out there as a dominant.
It was just the
display.
mistakes. It was just the wall banging.
And those three are the three for me as well. I'm obviously head of the fan club, but Alonso's just dragging that car into points where it doesn't deserve. Look where his teammate was, for crying out loud. Anyway.
Yeah, you have to go quite far down.
You know when you're on like a dog walk and your dog sees another dog and they're like, "Oh, I want to go," and you've got to get with a scruff of the neck, and you're like, "No, you're not running up." That's Alonso with that Aston Martin. It's like, you're getting around this racetrack if I say so.
I will get you into the points.
You will get points. Okay.
That's a great Aston Martin impression.
That's what they all sound like.
Worst driver of the day.
Get in the bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. You suck at driving.
I'm gonna go with Sergio Perez. I just no progress.
He was in the points.
Yeah, great.
He was in
the point.
the point.
Colapinto being.
Nice.
Thanks. What?
We should have thought that last week.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, when he was in the points.
Not now.
Damn it, that was really good. He gains places from obviously Albon having a bit of a shocker at the start. He fights with the likes of Tsunoda, whose car is pants, and then he makes no more progress. He can't get past the Haas. He can't get close to Alonso. The Ferraris scamper off, and whilst I don't think his car was as fast as the Ferraris, it's more than good enough to be up there with those driving in front of him. No progress at all. He's just too busy complimenting how good Colapinto is driving around him, apparently.
Hey, he got him, though. He got him for 10th.
Well done. Well, you needed that, Perez. You need that point because it's only when you'll score to... Oh, no. No, actually, he's got lots of points. He's just nowhere near his teammate, is he? Yeah, it's just not good enough, Sergio.
I've gone with Kevin Magnussen because it wasn't a very good day. And in fact, you could say it was a bad day until he hit the wall and it became a worse day. Hulkenberg showed what that Haas could do, and Magnussen did not.
I don't know. Puncturing yourself, then getting the fastest lap, and then having it deleted because you didn't do a lap properly. I thought that was really great.
That's so funny.
That's so K-Mag.
Yeah. If you just said that story and said, who was it?
Yeah.
Number one guess is Kevin Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good race for him.
That wasn't great. He's had better.
Who are you giving it to?
I also gone for Sergio Perez. I know it seems a bit obvious, but it's just a crushing disappointment after what we thought was maybe some form regained in Baku. Oh, we're back.
My hopes were so high for him.
I
I enjoyed praising him last race.
still don't believe they'll keep him for the rest of the year because.
Well, the championship surely.
Well,
gone.
they can't. That's what I mean. They if they're gonna do it, they need to make a decision. They should have made a decision before, but they need to pull the pin now on it because it will be gone because they can't keep having a P2 and a P10. That's not how you win championships.
For me, I think it's more actually. I think the constructors is gone at this point. But what is salvageable properly is making sure that your second driver is right next to Max Verstappen to protect from as many drivers' points that they could stop, so Max is safer towards the end of the season. And he's driving without a shield right now. You know, Lando's always got Oscar, Russell and Hamilton are right next to each other, Sainz and Leclerc are right next to each other. Max is driving a team on his own.
Big brain Strat.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Big Killers vibes all the time.
Every time.
Love that. What have you got for big brain Strat, Sam?
Just the works, plan A.
Yeah, fair.
Just everything, plan A. There's some carbon fibre on my wing, plan A. I'm stuck behind Hulkenberg, plan A.
I think that sounds like plan A.
Yeah, but you know what? Doing this podcast is plan A.
Plan A?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually mine. Because, you know the meme where the guy's sitting at the table and everything else around him is on fire?
Yes.
That was just like Carlos Sainz out of the points. We're on plan A. Everything's fine.
The pizza is plan A.
Everything's well. I will offer an alternative. Daniel Ricciardo's 12 stop was great.
Again, I said this to you whilst we were watching it. Why did they put him on the mediums if he had to stop so early for the brake duct issue? Put him on the hard tyres. At least he can try and do like a Carlos Sainz. He's never going to make it on mediums. So then you
If
pit
there's a
him.
last bit of safety car, chuck him on the softs. But
Yeah. What's the point in that?
I feel like we've been to Singapore enough times now to know that you're one stop at Singapore.
Yeah.
Come on now.
You silly people.
Big brain Strat?
Alpine. Poor Pierre Gasly.
He's still going.
watching him
hasn't
get
pit yet.
overtaken every single time.
Why are you leaving him out there for so long?
I don't really know.
Hey guys, what's the we're goal hanging for a safety car, mate. But we're in 16th place. No one is behind us
But
anymore.
also they let every, and we saw every overtake because F1 were being brutal and just showing us a montage of him being overtaken. But they let everyone overtake him and then pit him. Why?
Nailed it, guys. Good job.
What's the point of that? Let everyone go past and then pit him. Get him now.
At which point he comes out and he's like 9 seconds behind the Sauber duo, and it was a question of would he get back to the Sauber duo and overtake them?
At that point,
Narrator, no.
what is the point?
He did not.
What's the point? It's a waste of petrol.
It's just bad for the environment, Alpine.
It's not
Go
gaining.
home.
Nothing. No one benefits from this.
Right, that'll do it for this segment. On the other side, we've got more chat on the likes of Williams and Sergio Perez. Williams had a very good result in Azerbaijan. No points, though, here in Singapore. We weren't sure exactly what their pace was going to look like here versus what we had at Baku. Qualifying, that they did a fairly good job. They were at least in the mix. And indeed, Colapinto has just finished 11th, so just outside of the points, and he was running in the points for a good chunk of this Grand Prix. Alex Albon was an early retirement in this one, so didn't really have a chance to feature, although a bad start for him probably would have left it a difficult job for him to get points as well. Given what they did last week, Sam, is this more of just a back to reality of where they should be?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think this is a surprisingly good result for Williams. I'm impressed with Colapinto. We said this multiple times how, okay, it's one thing to be good at Monza, it's another thing to be good at Baku, but then you go to somewhere like Singapore and that's a very different challenge in itself. And whilst he had a couple of little flirtations with the wall, a little bit of a, occasionally,
Nice.
little smooch.
Perez, man.
Have you seen his onboard of his start, by
Yes.
the way?
Oh yeah, it's filthy. Genuinely unreal.
He sent it from Baku.
Yeah, he just never stopped braking from turn one.
How impressed were you by that first
So impressed. So impressed. The commitment, he gets it slowed down brilliantly. It's clean. There's no issues against anyone. Apart from Alex Albon having a right old whinge over the radio. Oh, he's just dive on me. What's he doing?
God's sake.
That's a terrible impression.
Because you want to moan about any time of racing that comes alongside him is Alex Albon. Good Lord. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And he was so close to the points. 1 second regularly away from Sergio Perez for so long. In any other Singapore Grand Prix, the chance of someone in the top 10 crashing or retiring, pretty high. And I think they're very unlucky not to have almost lucked into a one-place improvement due to a retirement or damage or something like that. The car historically wouldn't have performed here, I don't think. And the fact that it has tells me they're going in the right direction. This is a positive sign for the rest of the season now that they have performed at straight line merchant tracks, which they've always been all right at, but also one that is incredibly downforce heavy and relies on high temperatures and tyre wear can be tough. And they've nailed it. I really think they outclassed Minardi. I think they were better comfy than Alpine. Now they're well past that front. They're right up there with the Haas and quite similar now to the Aston Martins. Alonso's doing a great job, but I think that's Alonso. If you look at the median between the two cars,
those four drivers at the end were very close as well.
Yeah.
So Colapinto's at the back of that group,
Yeah.
Alonso's at the front of it with Hulkenberg and Perez in between.
Yeah.
But there was only a couple of seconds between those four drivers.
I'm surprised at just how close Williams are on that pace now. And it's a bit too late, but at least they did it. But having a competent second driver in that car might start to really pay dividends as we get to the end of the season.
Yeah, he was very good. And I think with some of the other drivers on the grid, and I know Singapore you kind of expected anyway, but if you had shown how that Grand Prix went to a lot of the drivers, like this is how it's going to play out, I'm sure that at least a few drivers would go, maybe I should attack the first corner a bit more, because there weren't that many opportunities to get overtakes done out there. It was reliant on strategy. It was reliant on being patient in the case of Charles Leclerc. And, that's with the benefit of hindsight. Colapinto just went for it, and it's a good thing he did. And I thought it was a great move. It was risky, and honestly, I think at some point it's going to catch up to him.
Yeah, that could have gone wrong very quickly.
And I think there are going to be instances where it goes very right, as it did today. And if he keeps up with this mentality, there will be instances where it goes wrong. But if it goes right more than it goes wrong, it's not too bad.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think Albon would have been around if he didn't have such a poor start. I think Albon was probably going to be in the mix with Colapinto as well. So it wouldn't have surprised me if they came home 11th and 12th or something like that. But yeah, a very different circuit to some of the others we've been to recently. And despite the fact that they're not coming away with the same amount of points or any points like they did in Baku, to be in that mix, I think that's a win for Williams.
James Vowles will be happy.
Harry?
Yeah, it sounds weird because one of them didn't finish, but that was a good day for Williams. Some encouraging pace. Would like to see where we are when we get to Austin, but they've the upgrades at least around the street circuits have seemed to have worked for them. Colapinto, Colapate Bean. I am increasingly impressed by him, and yeah, be good to see him in a seat. If only there were more cars on the grid. But yeah, I thought they should be encouraged by how that car is now performing. Because their main battle was with the likes of Haas and stuff in the championship, so they were there or thereabouts with them. So we'll see what it's like in Kota, but I thought good day all around.
Speaking of a few of those other drivers that were in that mix, so we've already, Sam, you gave shouts to Alonso and Hulkenberg in your driver of the day shortlist.
Yep.
And of course Perez, worst driver of the day. Those three drivers were next to each other in 8th, 9th and 10th. How did you view that battle specifically?
I mean, it feels like it played very much into the features of the racetrack. Singapore is notoriously difficult to get moves down. You do, as you mentioned, have to be very patient. You have to strategically think your way through moves. You have to go, right, actually, I can't get it down on track, so I'm going to pit here, overcut here, whatever it might be. And I thought Alonso's ability to run in free air, which he did very much at Baku as well, I thought was incredibly strong. The way that he gets into the groove and he's not being bothered by someone. He's like, I've got a target in mind and I'm just hitting it and I'm hitting it and I'm hitting it. And he doesn't let up. He's so relentlessly good at being consistent. And that's, we spoke about this, is where people like, I think Lando could learn from. That if Fernando can keep doing that, and he did it brilliantly, he was so close to the back of the Ferraris, right? That Ferrari is so much better than Aston Martin. The fact he was pressuring Sainz, yes, on older tyres, but that's still really, really impressive. He gets past Hulkenberg as well. No issues there, because Hulkenberg qualified so well it might have been difficult, but clears him, does a good job. And then Hulkenberg, I think, was really, really good. I mean, it's a shame that he lost a couple of spots overall, but I thought his drive was brilliant. He was clean. He got the most, I think, out of that Haas. Maybe the only thing he could have done was beating Fernando. It's a pretty good day for them. Sergio, there's no thinking going on there. There's no kind of long-term processing. There's no kind of, I'm stuck in this situation. What can I do to get myself out of it? What can I do differently? Shall I undercut? Shall I stick on a different set of tyres? It's just, I'm just going to sit here. And I'm just going to sit here some more. And you could see, like with Piastri, he was going, I'm a bit stuck. What do? Okay, we are going to overcut. We're going to really hang on. It just felt like they didn't do anything different. They didn't try anything. They didn't want to change things up. And that's really frustrating because Sergio also doesn't have the outright pace or cutthroat ability to pass these cars on the track. So they've got to think outside the box to make something work. And they just didn't. It was just lackluster. It's just another poor performance overall from the Red Bull team.
How did you see the race that went on between 8th and 10th?
Yeah, I thought Hulkenberg was excellent all weekend. I know he lost out to Alonso in the end, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place. So, Hulk, excellent. Alonso, just as I said, I gave him driver of the day because I don't think that Aston really deserves to be in that spot. And like you said, Sam, it's just he is relentless. I know this is Fernando Alonso, but he doesn't give up, does he?
He certainly doesn't.
And yeah, I thought his pace is very, very good. And as I said to you when we were watching, he was just in no man's land again. Like not quite as much as he has been, because obviously he was closing down the Ferrari towards the end, and he had the group behind. But just sort of that was it. And Perez, just wasn't a good day. But he was compounded by the fact he didn't have a good qualifying. So he might have, he could have got a few more spots, but realistically, is he in 8th rather than 10th in the end? I don't know. He didn't have any pace today to do anything with it, and yeah, the strategy wasn't bold, but I'm not sure how much difference it would have made anyway.
I think from Alonso and Hulkenberg's perspective, I've given Haas quite a lot of credit this year for strategically being pretty good, I think they'll be a bit miffed off today that they allowed Alonso and Aston Martin to get the upper hand on them. I know it's only one position, but I think Hulkenberg comes in later than Alonso, but only by 6 laps. At which point, Hulkenberg is able to eat into the gap that Alonso's built up based on those fresh tyres. But at a 6-lap delta, it's not quite enough to really make a difference when Hulkenberg gets close to Alonso. I think Alonso did a great job managing that gap as well, particularly late on in the stint. But I think they might be annoyed that they didn't beat Aston Martin to that strategy call, or went a bit longer and tried to create more of a delta for him at the end of the Grand Prix. Even so, it was a great day for Hulkenberg and the team. From Sergio Perez's perspective, I think they should have done what Sainz did. I think they should have got him in earlier and tried to clear everyone else and hold on, similar to what Sainz did. I think he could have got 8th. I think he could have got the 2 drivers in front if he goes with that call. Ferrari got the call right and Red Bull didn't.
What?
Oh my good lord!
Go. But yeah, damage was done yesterday. Like you qualified 13th. You're gonna struggle to make much progress around a track like Singapore.
Another day where Sergio Perez once again can't get into Q3 properly, and it costs him. It's the same story we keep telling ourselves over and over and over again.
Let's take the final break on this episode. On the other side, we've got Moment of the Race. Okay, we've got Moment of the Race submissions from our Discord that we will get to in a moment's time. But before we get there, we each have our own Moment of the Race. Sam, what have you got?
I've got 2 in mind. One is the Colapinto start. I generally thought that was sublime.
Oof.
Watched it back after the race and was even more wowed at it from the onboard. It was such a tiny gap that he snuck down, and yeah, maybe bordering on too risky, but it paid off for him, and everyone did a good job at kind of maintaining where they should be, and I thought he was brilliant. So that's up there. The other one, as I've spoken to you guys about already, comes before the race starts. Martin Brundle just being the absolute one-line queen that he is, and delivering something like the, Max, I can't speak to you anymore, otherwise we're all going to get into trouble. I just think that was great banter, playing on the FIA's ridiculous swearing rules that we're going to be talking about on another day.
Yep.
But I'll go for Colapinto as it was actually in the race, because I thought that was phenomenal. You don't see starts like it that often, especially from those kind of drivers, and he smashed it.
Harry, Moment of the Race?
George Russell.
Just full stop.
Just full stop.
Radio boy.
Many moments, but him asking the team for encouragement is sensational.
Tell me I'm great.
Please tell me I'm good. That was excellent. His radio, there were points during the race he was just radioing and no one was replying to him.
Just chatting away.
Yeah. Him saying, basically implying he was driving the 2014 Ferrari that had understeer and oversteer.
Impressive.
Is
that a song ring here?
It's like a sauna. Yeah, all right, George. Thank you, mate.
I've kissed the wall.
No one spoke to him. He didn't speak. It's like sort of going here. Thanks, George.
Do you think he just, like, no one speaks to him? He just says really random things to see if they're like,
Are you awake?
Will this
You
get a
there?
reply? Anyway, yeah, that one for me.
I have to go with the Pierre Gasly being overtaken montage.
Oh, no.
It was like 4 overtakes in the space of, I don't know if they happened one after the other as much as the replays made it look, but every time for like 2 minutes they went to a replay, it was Gasly being overtaken. Oh, poor Gasly, man.
He's already dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But we have some moment of the race submissions from our Discord. Thank you to everyone who's put in a submission. As always, we'll try to get through as many as we can. If yours isn't played out today, apologies, but keep trying because we've got plenty of opportunities in race previews and race reviews. Who have we got first?
Right, first, I've literally run out of hands here, but first up is Darth Fart Noise.
Hey guys, Darth Fart Noise here. My moment of the race was like 15 laps to go when Norris out in the lead of like by 20 seconds and he just almost does a George Russell. Like, dude, the guy's, fast, but he's making too many mistakes. I don't think he's just ready yet for a title fight, but, prove me wrong, please. All right, Darth Fart Noise out.
That's me.
Never gets old.
We're children.
Thank you, Darth Fart Noise.
That's funny.
Northern Texas is next.
Oh, hello, my late-breaking friends from across Lake Big Wet. It is I, Norm from Texas, and I am here to give my moment of the race, and my moment of the race is the, oh my God, dads and sons on a bad road trip energy that was coming over the radios today between George trying to get encouragement and Charles Leclerc battling his strategy team over tires. Oh my goodness, boring race, great radio. Anyway, keep breaking late.
Leclerc must have been so bored.
I'm bored.
I love rear wings, says Leclerc.
Yay.
And more rear wing, is it? Oh, another helping of rear wing.
Going 5 seconds slower than I could.
Please, sir, can I have some more rear wing?
Bristol Liam is next.
All right, lads. I'm a bit ill. So the voice is a bit deep. But under pressure. Moment of the race. Probably Russell asking for motivation and just being met with some like random traction statistic or something else that was quite funny. And also I'm sure Harry enjoyed because it means he'll never have to see Daniel Ricciardo again. Cheers.
Yeah, Harry.
Yeah, you hate him.
Yeah, Bristol Liam, I know you're ill, but you're delusional. I love Daniel Ricciardo. I always put him in my fantasy. I did use him in my fantasy.
Well, that's where Harry's been going wrong.
He was there at the start of the
Only
year.
driver.
But my teammate was pick as always Ricciardo, so shut it to him. Next. Good. Next is Garuda 1.
My moment of the race is Danny Rick getting out there, getting that fastest lap in for him. Definitely not for Red Bull, not for a different team, of course. No conflict of interest at all. But also shout out to the FIA for getting on top of an issue that plagues this sport, the dirty language. I think it's been a really productive weekend, so shout out to everyone involved.
Thank you, Guru Sandstorm.
Those rappers, honestly.
Oh, God, I'm not getting started.
Yep, really getting to the hard-hitting issues at the core of F1. Mo Bidness is next.
Yeah,
Mo business.
What's up, late breakers? It is Mo Business right now, coming at you from the land of no kilometers. We're talking about Singapore, moment of the race. Gotta be Crofty, talking about some weird about Alonzo and Hamilton's total kilometers not like reaching over halfway the moon. Like, I don't even know. It's weird. It's just weird, Crofty. Why do you say these things like that? You're not a stat man. Not as much as you think you are. Keep breaking late. Love you, boys.
Thank you, Mo Business.
Thank you, Mo Bidness. Next up is Cronenberg.
That's a beer.
Spelt differently to the beer.
Oh, I am so glad I got up at 4 a.m. to watch the Singapore.
Oh,
Get it?
Good one.
Grand Prix. Shout out to Lando. Good win. Moment of the race, though, probably had to be when Brundle said that Colapinto was going full beans. Who knew? He was a late breaking fan, huh?
Hey.
All right, boys. Keep breaking late.
That was a good one.
Love that. Full beans. Full baked beans.
We love a beans reference.
Yep. What was that character called Beans? What was that on? Like on a TV show?
Even Steven. Beans. Oh, it's absolute beans legend.
Even Stevens. All Good Always is next.
Hello, Late Breaking, coming to you live from Turn 7, where most of the overtakes happened, which was pretty cool. Sorry, Sam. I think I prayed too hard, and the weather was fantastic today. No safety car. Moment of the race. Everyone's talking about Lando's masterclass, but I really think the award for masterclass, or the title of masterclass, should go to Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, it's like he had a fire lit under his bum. The way that he was defending that Red Bull, amazing. Anyway, love you guys with the podcast. Bye.
Lovely to hear on-track action in the background.
Sounds
Sounds like you had a lovely time. Also, love hearing people who don't have English accents say bum.
Good.
So send that in your submissions, please.
That's niche.
Bum.
Sure. Next up is Nando's Big Green Tractor.
Great name.
Hello, Lightbreakers. It is Nando's Big Green Tractor, and my moment of the race is George defending off Charles Leclerc. As a George fan, I was in great anxiety that he would be overtaken, and I was so relieved that he managed to cling on to his lead over Leclerc for until the race was over. So that was my most exciting moment.
Correct.
Good stuff.
One final one, which is not coming through the Discord. It's a new way of submitting your submission here. It's coming via email from Esco Pablabar.
I love Esco Pablabar.
Which is a great name. I also love that even though you're not on the Discord, you still put your username like that. That's fantastic.
Hello chaps, Esco Pablabar here with Moment of the Race. That was an absolutely crap race, but well done to Lando Norris. Good win. My moment of the race is in fact 62 laps worth of Crofty getting everybody's name wrong, including on lap 61 getting Kylie Minogue and Danny Minogue mixed up. Oh, that was fun to listen to. Cheers lads, bye bye.
And then Brundle did it as well.
And then I can't believe they both did it, one after another.
Yeah.
I'm keeping track of those Minogues, innit?
There's the whole two of them.
They're everywhere, those Minogues.
Honestly, all two of them.
Crofty was on particularly poor form today.
To be fair, it was dull.
I know, but I think that's when that's his worst moments because he just doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, you can kind of hear him think.
I can't deal. Sorry, David Croft, but I can't deal because I know it's a hard job. I can't deal with him like desperately clamouring for any opportunity there might be a safety car. Some bits of the advertising hoarding were on the track, and he was like, "Maybe it's a safety car." Shut up, Crofty.
I just hate the constant references to like tea. Like trying to be
a lot of tea
trying to be
references
funny
today.
with it. I'm like, I get it. You're trying to fill dead air. It's really hard. I probably couldn't do it, right? But
We could, but it would be terrible.
Yeah, it would be like this. But what was that one about having it squirted tea down the back of your throat and stuff? I'm like, what are you on about?
Yeah.
Getting tea bagged.
That was a Brundle, I think.
I don't know. Together they could be a terrible twosome.
That'll do it.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do.
Thank you, Shrek.
It is a while until our next race.
Where is the next race, Ben?
I believe it's in Austin. Should we go?
Come on, then.
Go on then.
Oh,
Okay.
You've convinced me. Twisted my arm.
We're going to go to Austin. We'll do the race preview there, of course, but that doesn't mean that's our next episode.
No. We've got power rankings coming up.
Oh, boy.
And where can you find power rankings, Harry Eid?
On the Patreon.
Correct.
I looked at the camera then, but the witches died, so never mind.
On the Patreon. The link's in the description below. We're going to be doing that again all together in a moment, so you'll hear our driver ratings. If you are curious, you can listen to the whole season of Power Rankings as well. Even if you subscribe right now, everything becomes unlocked for you. And that's not just Power Rankings. You'll get historic episodes. You'll get Beer with Breaking, which we recorded last night. Yes.
We did.
We did. Hang on a moment there. That was last night, right?
No, you made that up. That never happened.
It was a real good beer breaking because I can't even remember it.
Actually, I had a good time. We got a lovely couple of PO boxes that we've opened up as well. So thank you to those people. Please watch Beer Breaking. You'll see our lovely, lovely gratitude. You'll get loads of everything's ad free, more extra episodes as well. So check it out. Links in the description. It doesn't cost a whole lot. How much does it cost, Harry?
Like $12 a month.
Thank you. I'm not asking any more questions.
Very reasonable, actually.
Yes, it is very, very reasonable. Discord's available, and that's where you can do your submissions, unless you're Ablo Pescobar.
That's not even right, but sure.
What's his name?
Pablo Pescobar.
What's his name?
Escobar. We can't do it by email. The other guy can.
God. Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. We're going to be back midweek for our standing showing. We'll just chat more F1 and probably talk about all these rappers and their swear words coming up too soon. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I've been Harry Eade.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Should we all go into Sam's camera to say goodbye?
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Come on over, gang. YouTube, special edition.
Any way I do this without tripping over something? No.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
Bye.
You can have my hand. Nothing else.